Hello, beautiful. I'm your host, Nicole Goff. Welcome to the Ecstatic Life Podcast, the podcast for women who want to live fully embodied, nervous system regulated, open-hearted, radiant, and alive. Here we explore the practices, modalities, and lived rhythms that return you to yourself, to your heart, to your body, your intuition, and your divine spark. This podcast is for women who are ready to awaken their inner creatrix, activate their inner manifester, and remember, an ecstatic life isn't a destination. It's the path we're walking together. Hello, and welcome back to the Ecstatic Life Podcast. I am Nicole Goff, and I am here with Kerryn Karimalis, and we are introducing you now to the part 2 of our psychic conversations with animals talk. I don't have a title for that. It will probably be more elaborate, but this is essentially the second part of the questions that were burning on my heart that I had for the animals. And Kerryn, as a nature intuitive, is able to communicate with the animals. And so I asked her if she would go out and put these questions out. And so if you haven't listened to part 1, go back and listen to part 1. We explain all of the trials and tribulations of getting this out. The universe is definitely conspiring against us to get this episode out, which is funny because here we are like advocating and speaking for the animals. Like, come on, universe, right? Or maybe what was the thing you said last time? Maybe it was a conspiracy of...
It's like a technology conspiracy, because obviously all of the answers from the animals are basically get off technology and get into nature. So
yeah. So it's the internet, AI.
Something's going on now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we could dive deep on the conspiracy theories, but here's one right here for you.
Conspiracy of technology.
The phones are listening.
Yeah. So yes, if you're just tuning in, go back and listen to part 1 first. But otherwise, thank you for returning. And is there anything that you would like to say, Kerryn?
All right, welcome back. Thanks for coming back for round 2. I'm glad I didn't scare you off for the first round and you're back for round 2. Yeah, it's just it's good. It's good. I'm glad we got to re-record this as well. Yeah, it's just another excuse to hang out with you guys again. So.
Oh yeah.
Stoked.
Well, and we had to re-record the last 2 questions, or the last 2 answers really, and re-listening to that last one was just, it hits so heavy. So really, like, it just, I mean, even hearing it for the 3rd time, because I listened to it when I was editing too, like even hearing it for the 3rd time, it's like, whew. I mean, it's a big one.
A soul level. It gets you on a soul level, I think, because you just can feel the truth in it. You can feel the truth in it. It's just like, holy crap, yep. We are a bit too attached to distracting ourselves and numbing ourselves. And I think majority of our problems, when it comes down to it, just get outside, get out on a bushwalk, get out with any animals that you have, be fully present. I mean, how often do you sit on the couch with your head in your phone and you have like a dog or my bird or a cat coming up and nudging you and trying to get your attention, and you're just like pushing them away, similar to what our kids do when we're on our phones too much or watching TV too much or whatever. And
oh my gosh,
they're always trying, our kids and the animals and nature in general they're all trying to bring us back to the present moment, because that truly is all that matters. There is no such thing as the past. There is no such thing as the future. There is literally only now, and so much of our world is built on distracting ourselves from the now, because it is so hard to be in the now, because our world has been perfectly designed to distract us from what's really going on in right now. How much at the moment in the media especially is everything just a big distraction from what's really going on in the now.
Yeah. And what's important?
When we get quiet with ourselves, we step away, we turn off the news, we step away from our phones and the social media that is literally just an algorithm that's just showing us exactly what's going to keep us on our phone for longer. Just get out, take a book, go for a walk. You don't even have to go far. Literally, just go and find a tree. Go and sit by a tree and see what happens. See what happens. That's what I did, almost 2 years ago now. I felt called to go and sit with a tree, and look what came from that. So much, so much. And that wasn't that hard to do. I just had to walk into my backyard. So it can feel really hard, I think, being in, especially on our phones. We feel so connected to our lives that aren't ours, when we should be looking at our own lives and how can we be living in a place of abundance and thriving. And we do that by being just quieter, be getting bored off our phone. I think we spoke about that in maybe our episode 2 with Carolina. Being bored is a goddamn privilege, but it's also something that we don't allow ourselves to do, and we don't allow our kids to do. And I'm sorry, but if I'm sitting bored outside, I will be so aware of everything. I'll see a little ant, and I'll end up following an ant for 5 minutes and see where that ant is going. Or I'll see a fly land on me and it'll start cleaning itself rather than me just swiping it away suddenly. Sits on its arm, and have you seen a fly or a bug clean itself? It looks like a dog or a cat, like cleaning itself with its little arms, 6 little legs, preening its wings. So cute. And I wouldn't do that. Normally you would just swipe the bug away and go back to your phone or go back to being busy. But just allowing yourself, you don't have to meditate, just literally go and just sit and just see what comes, listen to the birds, see what bugs are around. I don't know, there's just something, I just love the simpleness of it, and that it doesn't matter what capacity you have or where you are, there is always animals around us. I think we forget that. We're like, oh no, we have to go to a zoo to see animals. We have to have, pets to have animals. But there are animals around us every single day of the year, all the time. And if all the birds just suddenly stopped being around, it would be so quiet. Our worlds would be so quiet. And that's even in the inner cities. How many birds are there? It's pigeons in the cities. If you just I just go and sit and look at a pigeon in the middle of the city. I don't know. I just love watching pigeons. I'm a bird fanatic. But yeah, there's just such a simpleness in that. And then it just kind of adds on from that. Do you know what I mean? Like you can look up and then see the sun shining on your face, or then you see a beautiful tree somewhere and you start looking at how the sun's shining on the trees and the leaves are moving in the wind. There's so much happiness in that. There's so much happiness. The world is beautiful, truly. We just create these worlds that are so like pretend worlds. We have pretend worlds. We live in pretend worlds that aren't actually the reality of our lives. And I think when we find ourselves being severely anxious and depressed, and we really just need to strip back to the basics of where we actually are at this moment in time. Where you are, you can find beauty anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter where you are. You can find it. You can find it. So, yeah. I've rambled a bit, but do you know, that's what I say. It doesn't matter where you are. You can always find a piece of sunshine coming through onto onto your wall, or there's always beauty to be had in the world. And I think we forget that so often from the blue lights of our black mirrors.
Yeah. And spoiler alert, that's the message from the animals. Get off your damn phone.
They said it way nicer than that, but yeah. Paraphrasing here, that's basically what they're saying.
Oh, well, without further ado, we will give you part 2 of our conversations with animals. Thank you so much, Kerryn. I just finished a book called Braiding Sweetgrass. Have you read that by chance?
No, I haven't.
It's about a Native American author's experience. She's also an ecologist and learning from the plants mainly, but she brings up something that I find to be a really beautiful reframe. And that is that in her culture, you see everything as a person. So, not just human persons, not just animal persons, but plant persons, water persons, and everybody, everything, as we would say in English, We other, everything. We deny personhood of anything else that is not a human, right? But in her language, everything, again, and now I'm conscious of this language, right, is included with their own personhood. It's a completely different way of speaking about the world. And it's a lot harder to kill something, pollute something, degrade something when it has personhood.
100%. Yeah, I definitely also see us that we are all truly so much more connected than we can even fathom. And we are all truly, I mean, for myself, I see that we are all one being, and that's including the plants, everything. We are all one being, but we're just different expressions of the same thing. So when we go and we turn ourselves away from all of this it is really hard stuff to face. We're turning away from some part of ourselves. And that's why I think people get so triggered by it, is because to look at that is really, really confronting. And to look at how we are impacting and how our choices are impacting others is really, really, really confronting. And I remember I did go vegetarian first because for me it felt too overwhelming to change my life in such a drastic way. And for me, like for some people, they cut it all out completely. For others, like me, I had to go slowly because I knew that once I looked into and started researching the egg industry, the dairy industry, that then I would have to cut those things out. And I knew that I wasn't ready for that yet. But then when the time was right, I was ready to face that stuff and I was ready to cut it out. And it is really, really, it is really overwhelming. And it is a complete change of seeing everything, and being able to look these really difficult things in the face and be like, okay, how can I know that I am living in a way that holds true to what I value and that is living the most compassionate life that feels true for me? And that is going to be a different answer for everybody because everybody has different values. Everybody thinks differently. And I think it's just about finding what feels true for you and how can you just live your life every single day in a way that feels like you are living up to exactly what you really, really, really honor deeply on a soul level. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so difficult and so nuanced. And this is one of the things that I personally struggle with. I've had some bouts of vegetarianism, and I've always struggled with, you know, the ethical questions of consuming other beings. But there's also something that happens, I think, when for a lot of us, and you're very brave to have like moved beyond that, but I think it becomes so overwhelming when we start looking at the choices and there's so many things to weigh. Because what I've noticed is that with a lot of the products that are promoted for vegans and vegetarians, there's other either health things that I'm concerned with or the environmental impacts. So there's other things that I've always weighted against. And the times that I was vegetarian, I didn't feel as healthy. And so my nutrition would tank. I get anemia very easily. I would feel weak. I would feel sick. And there's all of these things that just make it so complicated that you almost get the freeze, it's like fight, flight, freeze, like the freeze reaction of like, what do I do? It's so overwhelming. And it's not just with these choices about animals, but it's with these choices with how we interact with everything. Because even every time I drive my car, I'm thinking like how terrible this is for the environment. And I see animals dead on the road. And I think about how if we were walking everywhere, we wouldn't be running over animals. I mean, there's just dozens of them dead on the road in my short commute, and it's like, I think about those lives, that we've paved over their habitats, we've destroyed their habitats, we put these roads there that become, almost impossible to avoid getting hit. And it's just, it's all so heartbreaking that sometimes I feel like I'm like stuck. Like, well, what's the point of doing anything? Because I can never do enough. And I get very overwhelmed. And I know that's not the right response. And I know, most of the time I try to move past that. But, another is the plastic industry. I think about what the plastic is doing to oceans, what the plastic is doing to our environment, our health. I mean, we all have microplastics all in us. But then when you go to the grocery store, it's like you can't avoid it. And some of us are lucky enough to live in areas where there's, fresh markets and farmers markets, but it's like it's not convenient for a lot of us to find fresh organic food. And even when you go to the farmers market, they still put it in plastic bags when they hand it to you.
That's not true. The whole organic section of the fruit and veggie part at the supermarket, it's all wrapped in plastic. Way more than just the regular fruit and veggies. I don't get it.
Yes. And that was the thing. So many of the vegan products are so much more processed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the whole thing is just so difficult and confusing. It's like hard to be a good person. And especially in the West, this is one of the reasons me and my husband have been looking into moving into less industrialized countries. When we were in El Salvador, it was very easy. There, street vendors on the side of the road. You can walk around. You can, walk to a fruit stand, pick up your fruit, like walk back to the beach. It was really nice. Like it didn't feel as plastic as it did in the West. I mean, yeah, and we're faced every day with these like micro decisions, right? And it just that at times feels almost impossible to make the right decision. And so I had decided about 12 years ago, my husband is a very like meat and potatoes person. And there is no possible way I could ever convince him. Like he won't eat raw vegetables.
Bless him.
There's nothing I could do to convince him to ever go vegetarian, much less vegan. He's very much like, I'm a hunter. Like this is part of my DNA, in my
that thing, the masculine thing.
Yes. And so, when we got together, I didn't hardly eat any meat. But then when we moved in together, I had to accommodate his diet. And I started feeling so much overwhelming guilt about serving all these animals that were like, and I wouldn't eat it a lot of times. But these animals were like factory farmed and it weighed so heavy on me. So I was like, you know what? If we're going to keep eating like this, then we have to start raising our own animals. Like we have to actually become part of this chain. And so we started raising chickens. He learned how to slaughter them. So we knew what they ate, how they lived, that they were happy, that they were killed humanely. They didn't live in fear and disgusting, horrible conditions and be tortured to death. So I felt much better about that, but I tried to be a part of the process. I was like, well, if I'm going to eat an animal, I should be able to take its life. I should be able to look it in the eyes and I should be able to take its life. And I tried to be a part of the process and it was so hard for me. And I'm like, well, if I am feeling so terrible about taking this animal's life, I probably shouldn't be eating it. When we had our first daughter together, he would say, you eat like a rabbit, you eat like a rabbit. And I got so anemic that my iron levels got down to a 6. I passed out. I was taken to the hospital. I was very much suffering. My husband's like, you have to eat some steak. Like you have to get some nutrients back in your body. And I did listen to him. I started taking a lot of supplements along with that too. But it's just been such a struggle for me, and that was part of the reason I wanted to have you on to have this conversation, why it is so important to me, because I can literally ping pong back and forth, back and forth and back and forth with this. And, I thought, well, I have all these ethical and moral questions. Like, why don't we put it to the beings that can give us some answers? So I did have a list of questions that I asked you to survey animals as you're going out. This was probably like 6 weeks ago or maybe even 2 months ago. So I gave you a list of questions and I was like, as you're out and about, like, see if you can survey some animals and see what they have to say about these ethical questions that I struggle with so much. So if you're ready, do you want to get into that, or do you have any more to say on the conundrum?
Yeah, I just want to say that it's not like we live in a world that is built on the use and abuse of animals. So, and of Earth's resources, not just of animals, but of everything. Obviously, we destroy the ecosystems. We take land. There's so many different facets to it, and it's no accident. It's built on these multi-million billion-dollar industries that are working perfectly. Humans are really, really, really good at having the most amount of animals in the smallest amount of space, and because it was built that way to make the most amount of money for them. And it is really, really hard when we get so stuck in being perfect. Nobody can be perfect. And I think even for me, I was like, well, if I can't do it perfectly, then I'm just going to not bother at all. But the thing is, even making small changes can go a long way. And if you find it that your health suffers because of you not eating animals and you've tried all of the things, it's okay to then just look at other aspects of your life where you can be a little bit more like it doesn't have to just be like I've got to cut out all animals and be that way forever and screw my health and that's it. It's all for the animals. I'm going to suffer for the animals. And I thought when I went vegan that I was suffering myself for the animals. I didn't realize how it would heal so much of myself, which is a whole other story. But if you can't cut out animals out of your diet for whatever reason, you can look at your beauty products. You can look at your household products. You can look at, not supporting zoos or other places where you see that animals are being used for entertainment, like horse racing, greyhound racing. You can make sure that you're buying things that aren't tested on animals. There is so many different aspects of our lives that the animals are used and abused for that you can then look at doing a little bit more in that side of it instead of it's not a one do it's not meant to be 10% of people are meant to, because at the moment it's kind of like 82% of people are perfect and then 98% of people are not having any idea whatsoever. I would love it if the world is more like 90% of non-perfect people are trying the best they can with the resources that they have. I can't buy organic. It's too expensive for me at the moment. So that's fine. If I can't, I buy plastic stuff because for me, that's what I can do this moment in time. And there are so many other parts of my life where I am helping that. It's just about doing what you can with what you have and being kind to yourself because it's about having compassion for yourself too. It's not just about compassion for the animals and the earth and the environment and all of the other stuff. It's having compassion for yourself above all else as well, because we're all connected. And if you're literally killing yourself or hating on yourself and being really down on yourself because you're driving a car and using a phone and blah, 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 you're not going to you need to look after yourself as well. You're not helping anybody if you're being really, really down on yourself. You're doing what you can with what you have. And that is enough.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a good point because it can get me in a spiral if I get if I get on this subject too much in my head about it too much, I can totally get in a spiral where it's like I feel so helpless because in order to participate in society, like, yeah, we could like, I guess, sell everything and like buy a acre up in the mountains in Montana and like live off grid and I don't know. Maybe we could live off the money that we
community better.
I would love to see community. That's the aspect. It's like I want a community where I share the same values with everyone in the community. It's so hard living in just normal society and functioning in normal society. I mean, we live in a rural area and we live, pretty far out from like a main city, but that necessitates driving a lot more. And so there's there's the give and take of that. It's like, okay, so now I'm using up more fossil fuels and now it's like and then you hear I get pretty down on a conspiracy theory, and then you hear that fossil fuel is actually a renewable resource, and what's really bad is all of the quote unquote clean energy, like what the solar panels are doing to the world and the giant wind turbines are doing to the world is so much more dangerous than pumping fossil fuels out of the ground. And it's like I just don't know. It's just so overwhelming. And it's like I just try every day to make the most conscious decisions and be the best person I can. But it's like,
Yeah,
I wish
it's
it was
really hard.
easier.
There's so much stuff that gets put out by these massive industries as well. They own the media companies, so they put out the stuff to scare people away from. It's like the whole thing with soy, the soy myth that soy's estrogen and whatever, it's going to give guys man boobs. That was literally put out by the dairy industry to make sure people still had cow milk. I'm sure that the solar panel thing is probably a whole marketing thing that's been put out by the fossil fuel industry to make sure people don't stop getting petrol for their cars and everything else like that. So it's it's yeah, it's hard to know what is real and what isn't. And I think that's where it comes back to feeling into what feels true for you and what you can do for you. And for me, processed plants over processed animals feels more true for me. I
Yeah.
think as a yogi as well, you think, I know that, like it's amazing that people go out and hunt and they've had a happy life and they've had a free life and then they have a humane death. But for me, I don't believe that there is a humane death for anything that doesn't want to die. And no matter how lovely it is. And if we heard somebody say that who had murdered a woman and we heard in trial, they're like, well, I gave her a happy life. She was free. She could do what she wanted. And then I just slit her throat. Like, that would sound crazy. And it's just wild that it's so much of this language is okay to be said about animals. But if you were talking about other humans, then it wouldn't be okay. And I know that
It
is extreme.
is. It's no, I mean, it's that's why we're having this conversation, because it's a lot to wrap your mind around it. And so that actually brings me to one of the questions. And actually, let me pull up these questions, because that was one of one of the first things that I wanted to ask the animals. So are you ready to get into that part?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay, so my first question was, all life must consume other life to live. Some animals eat other animals. Considering this, is it immoral for humans to eat other animals?
So I sat down and did a specific channeling session and just asked the animals to come through. And specifically, I had a white chicken that came through, and then they kind of kept switching around. It was like a chicken, and then it would be a cow, a pig, a horse. They all just kept kind of swapping. So the answer for this one was, the question isn't if it is immoral or not. The question is it necessary or not for survival? For many animals, and rarely, but some humans too, it is a necessity to end the life of another to survive. But we see you humans, you have access to all of the plants that we do. You have access to an abundance of food that we cannot even fathom. And still, you make the choice to take our lives anyway. You are not solely animal eating types like some of us are. You seem able to survive on plants, but you choose not to. This does not make you wrong. It means too many of you are asleep, and too many of you have not considered those you inhabit Earth with just yet. But we have hope. We hope by humans moving so far in one direction that you must move in the other way soon. We are forced into existence. We live torturous and short lives for you to wake up to what feels right for you. So, yeah.
Hmm. And that was coming through from animals that were in captivity. I'm assuming if it was the cows and
Yeah.
the
It felt
the
like it
white
was like the farm
chickens.
animals.
Yeah, the white chickens, those are the ones that they use for meat.
The burger
I
chicken.
wonder if you talk to a wild animal, a deer, if you would get the same
Yeah.
message. Because so one of the things, and this I think was discussed in that book that I was just talking of, but I've also I have some friends that hunt, and I have also read in other places that when you respect animals and you only consume them in ways that are harmonious with nature, that the animals offer themselves up to you. And this is in one of the things, again, this was a Native American. One of the things was that the animals would look you straight in the eyes and turn sideways and offer, like with a clear message, to shoot them with a bow and arrow in this particular story, that they were offering themselves up to the tribe, knowing that without that meat, that their kin, because this was the way that it was presented, that the animals and the people that shared that land were kin, but that they were offering themselves to keep their human kin alive. And they knew that that was their purpose. And it wasn't all the animals, but it would be very particular. And this one story that I'm speaking of, the hunter that was talking about it, he would only bring one arrow because he wouldn't shoot any deer that did not offer itself. So it was like a story of reciprocity and how every part of that animal was sacred and used as, medicine and honored, and that, it was in honor of that animal's life. And so, yeah, so it's interesting. So when I read something like that feels very true to me. Like that feels, and that was what I was trying to replicate in raising animals. But again, that's different. That's animals in captivity. They didn't choose. I chose them. I bred them, and I chose them to be my food.
Yeah,
The animal did not offer itself. It had no choice in the matter. So I wonder if there would be a different perspective if it was a wild animal, if a wild animal would have that as an idea in its consciousness.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot different when we're speaking about Indigenous cultures, where it is so ingrained in their cultures and their rituals to have so much respect for all life. They live on the land. They don't, they look after the land so well. They are the guardians and the custodians of such, they look after everything, and everything has its part and everything has its place. But then when you look at the Western world, it's like 99% of animals that are killed are factory farmed. So it's such a small percent that are either wild animals being killed for food, or that are, on these small farms that I hear so many people talking about. They buy their food from small grass-bred free range farms, which that's amazing. At least the animals are having a happy life, and that is a one step closer to something that is far better than what we're doing at the moment. But when I was looking into, if everybody was to eat these free range type small farm raised animals, if everybody switched to that, we would need 5 planets Earths to have enough space and resources to house all of the animals, because at the moment they're kept in such small confines, in such mass amount of animals, that, I mean, we're already killing ecosystems like that. But if you were to then do the way that feels more animal friendly, where are we getting 5 more planets to house all of these animals? Land prices would skyrocket. Meat would actually, the consumption would have to come down. It would become like a luxury to be able to eat animals if we did do this. And there would probably be about 10 to 25% increase in greenhouse gas emissions for doing something like this, because of the resources that it takes to have these, way, at least the animals are having a better life. But at some point we need to look at, I'm not saying everybody needs to go vegan. That's not what I'm saying at all. We just need to look at small actions where we can slightly reduce how much meat we are eating, because there are so many. I'm not going to go into the health benefits and stuff. I'm here for the animals. But when you look in the health, that all of the sicknesses that are caused by the overconsumption of animals, it's wild. The antibiotic resistance is because these animals they spend their whole lives eating and having antibiotics. They're living on painkillers for their whole lives because they're in pain their whole lives. And that obviously affects humans. And for me, just consuming something that has got cortisol running through its body, and it's when it's dying, I'm then putting that into my body and thinking that I'm going to feel good from that. And for me, that doesn't feel good. I see my body as a garden and not a graveyard. And
Yeah, that's something that I've considered a lot too, and it's the karma too. It's the karmic reality when you're eating something that has suffered so much, like you are taking on that suffering as well.
100%, 100%. I do want to also pull up that I've I've gone a lot into like animal soul contracts. You know how we talk a lot about how humans have soul contracts with each other and what we're here to do while we're on this earth. We also have soul contracts with animals, which I felt really called to dive into the end of last year. And so animals do have soul contracts just as much as humans do. They have reasons why they're here. They have things to play out. They have karma to move through. They're the exact same as humans. And so much of the animals that are factory farmed, they are here for a reason. They have, yes, they're forced into existence by humans, but the souls that are in those animals are here to move through some stuff as well. Yeah. And I do hear that when they are having their lives ended, that the soul, steps back from the body and leaves the body so it doesn't have to feel into all of that pain and suffering at the time of death.
It's like to choose that, like that must be like upper level like of the game for for souls. I think about the people
Right?
that the human souls that choose to inhabit the bodies of people that are in war zones, and things like that too. They're, you know, for whatever karmic debt or lessons that need to be learned, choosing to inhabit a body that will experience so much suffering in their lifetime. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, yeah. And I do think that they are here on such a mass level. They are here to to wake us up humans as well. Like we have soul contracts with them too. I think one of the answers that I have for one of our other questions kind of brings this up. Uh,
Well, here, let's
wait, let's keep going.
yeah, let's get to the second one then. So the second question I had was humans have kept animals as companions for work, for transportation, for food. Is it morally wrong to keep and raise animals?
So they said animals are not here to dictate what is right and what is wrong. These are words that you have created for yourselves to judge and belittle others, and you have to live as you, and only you know the answer to how you personally feel on this question. The fact that you are asking says loads about your own values and what you consider moral. Yes, us animals have lived many lives amongst humans. We help as much as we can, and we give our lives over and over too. Every single one of us has a purpose, whether we are mistreated or whether we are treated as royalty, whether we mean nothing or everything to you, all is exactly as it should be. There are many different contracts we make on our soul journey, and everything is already timed, is divinely timed. Sometimes we come to be the one animal that awakens you, and others we are a part of something far bigger than you can comprehend. While you may feel bad for us suffering, it is all a part of the plan.
Wow.
So I just think that just every answer I always get from animals is they're always so understanding and they're always so forgiving of everything. If anything, they're here to help us and they're here to guide us back to ourselves. And it feels like we like to think that we're the ones on top. I think they're the ones that are here teaching us all of this stuff, to be honest. They know
Yeah,
all of
that really jives with everything else that I've read too. So everything else I've heard from people that can really feel into the messages or speak to animals. Mm.
yeah, they're here to
Yeah,
guide us.
that was powerful. How do you feel? So I know you have is it a parrot, parakeet? You have a bird.
Yeah, I have a cockatiel.
Cockatiel. That I know. I'm like I
Yeah.
can picture it in my head, and I couldn't remember the name. But yes, you have a cockatiel. I have cats and dogs. We keep and raise chickens too. But The animals that are my house companions, that, live in the house with me and share life with me in such a big way, like, I like to think that they are doing what they want to be doing. But sometimes I question that too, it's like,
They're all,
I mean, they
yeah,
can't fly.
they are, so everything is divinely timed, as those animals said. It, yeah, as I say, there's about 7 different types of animal soul contracts. And so we have so many different types of relationships with animals, and they all can come for so many different variety of reasons. They come at different parts of our lives. I have some beautiful animal stories, and it was actually just looking back 10 years. Everyone's doing the 2016 trend, and 10 years ago, I I had a greyhound that was like my soulmate, come into my life then, and actually my Charlie, my cockatiel, he came to me 10 years ago as well, and they're just, yeah, I I definitely, I think that it's so hard to understand and fathom the intricate details of why animals come to us and what they are here to serve for us and how we serve them. But I do believe that that they're like us. We can't consciously be like, oh, I chose to have this trauma or I chose to go through this difficult thing. But I do believe that our higher selves choose certain things to go through for our own soul journey, and so do animals. And so when it comes to animal soul contracts and our contracts with them, they can come to us in so many different forms. They can, and we can have more than one soul contract with animals, and they can have soul contracts with so many different people in our lives. So like for my bird, Charlie, I can see how the contract that I have with him, but then I can see the different contract he has with my husband. He really triggers my husband because he always chirps really loudly when I'm not there, because he's really like a really needy third child. And I hear the chirp and it doesn't bother me at all. But for my husband, it really, really bugs him. And I can just see that he's planning out something to bring to the attention of my husband. So I can go through the animal soul contracts if you wanted to hear about them. Not obviously mine, but I can tell you about like the different types of contracts we can have with animals, if that's going to help you with your own animals, see what they're here to help you with.
Sure. Yeah. Let's do it.
So you can have physical agreements. So you might have an animal that then has like the same physical illness issue as you, that then kind of draws your attention to that, and then they work through their physical stuff, and in turn it shows you your own physical stuff that you might have. We have like emotional wound agreements. So this is in almost all of our relationships with animals. So they're like the same energetic wounds as you. I definitely feel this with my greyhound that I rescued. He'd been in the racing industry for 3 years. He'd been dropped off at the vet to be put down, and I rescued him. And at the time, I was in severe anxiety, severe depression, suicidal. And when I got him, he was like my anxious soul dog. He was severe anxiety. He couldn't go out anywhere because he would put up a mental block about why he couldn't do something. Loud noises would get to him. And when I ended up going to a really crazy breakup, he was like, we helped each other through that. He would sleep in the bed with me, and we just helped each other with our anxiety. And by the end of it, he had moved through so much of his anxiety, and I moved through mine, and he really, really helped me with that. We can have projection agreements, which are like psychological projections. It's something that we do in defense. Uh, we can release our emotions onto another being. So this is often like you might have an animal that has been abused, and then they have a lot of anger and fear, and they project that onto others, and it's kind of mirroring maybe something that you've been through yourself. We also have the karma agreements, which I believe that's probably a lot of what factory farm animals are here for, and that's to balance the energy between two beings. And that's also through like an act of kindness. We have like the unconscious mirror agreements, which is like the animals will come with a message for you, typically through behavior, to try and get you show you some like deeper insight into yourself. We have like symbolism agreements, which for me, that's been a really big thing for me for the last year and actually for a few years. And that's through Often that's through like wild animals or dreams, having animal dreams. Certain animals come to you in dreams, or certain animals cross you in your path and they have a message for you. And then we have the pinnacle teachings, which is like the animals that come into our life and they're here to just teach us love and joy and peace and self-love, acceptance, like all of the good things. And they're kind of like these ones that you will never forget, those types of animals. So yeah, you can have multiple like soul contracts with different animals, but they all just intertwine really, really well and they come into your life at the perfect time. And yeah, I love diving into all of that stuff. That's really interesting because I've always had animals my whole life.
It's funny as you're saying that I'm thinking about the emotional aspect and the mirroring aspect because so this is my little Rusty is the third anxious small dog with attachment issues that I have owned. And so I he's here to mirror my anxious attachments.
It's got the codependent.
Yes. So the next question that I had for the animals again, and this is coming from the struggles I have about all of the damage that we are doing to the planet. It's not just the suffering that we're creating for other beings, but it's like the suffering we're creating for other humans, the suffering we're just creating for the entire planet. So humans destroy natural habitats to make way for our quote unquote progress. What message do you have for humans about the way we handle the Earth's resources?
Humans need to stop considering themselves as separate from everything else around them. Every action has a reaction, and where that can be seen as negative, it can be positive too. Every action that is grounded in kindness, thoughtfulness, the considering of others, how the action will affect short and long term. There is a positive reaction to these actions, no matter how big and small. Humans seem to be going through a great awakening right now, but with that comes the old systems digging their heels in to keep things the same. Great change doesn't come from a select chosen few. Great change is from lots and lots of small actions done over time that then leads to big change. If humans were even 10% more aware of the things in their life and what resources were used and how it affects others, this would lead to a beautiful change overall. Every being here is a steward of this earth. We need to always act from a place of love towards our fellow beings. This applies to everything: humans, animals, trees, and the land.
Yeah, such wisdom
Yeah.
in that. That's the thing that really stood out to me is the if we put the attention on the things that we have in our daily life, and there's no more like poignant time. We're just getting out of the holidays. There's no more poignant time than Christmas to really like just smack me in the face with this. I've actually talked to all my relatives about this year's Christmas, next holidays, just taking a family trip and not buying things because the overconsumption of things, just things and plastic things just weighs so heavy on me. So it's like if every item we have, we really have a relationship with it, um, we view things differently, right? It's like, like this cup that I have my water in, like it has a history, it has a story. It's made of steel, and the steel was taken from the earth, and then it was processed in a factory, and there are resources that have been used up that have gone into the making of this. But it is also something that can last for generations because it is made out of steel. And so just really like getting to know the things that we own. And we have such a throwaway economy, and it's so heartbreaking. So it's like really like we talk the animal beings, the plant beings, the water beings, but we also there's like an energetic relationship. While something made of metal might not have the same properties of life that something that's like flesh and blood has, there is still energy in that. There is still some spirit that's in that. And it's also the relationship that we have with it. So I think about that like energetically, karmically, like how we interact with our stuff. And that's another place where I can get into a spiral where it's like, just over here to the side of my desk, I went to the dentist a few days ago, and it's like you get a toothbrush every time you go to the dentist, and it's just, again, it's like the plastic around the plastic. It's just everything comes wrapped
And that
in
plastic's going to live
plastic.
longer than you. It's going to be here for generations, that plastic.
I know. Well, but then I think also, the earth is so resourceful and wise that now there are microbes that are actually like learning how to eat plastic.
Oh,
So like we've like,
plastic is not a mistake. Plastic made for a reason, like plastic came, it serves purpose, and now people are waking up to it. Everything happens for a reason. I don't think that anything is a mistake. Nothing is a coincidence. Nothing done. Everything happens for a reason, and it's all leading us somewhere. It's either leading us further away from ourselves, closer to ourselves. And we've gone through the whole thing of moving further away from ourselves, but that was what we needed at that time to survive through, coming around when there was world wars and stuff on, but there was so much going on. That was survival. And now we're getting to a place of thriving. And it's like, okay, well, how can we get more back to what we used to be? I mean, when you used to buy kids' toys for our parents, you would have probably got like 1 or 2 toys a year, and they were beautiful and handed down to us, and then they'll be handed down to our kids. And now the kids get a ridiculous amount of toys every Christmas, but
and everything's so cheap. It's made so cheap, and it breaks, and nothing is sacred. We don't have that relationship that we have, and it's all it's all about economics. It's like, well, if you make something that is made to last, if you make something that does last for generations, because I'll just like this is an awesome example. I have a can opener. I have a can opener from the 70s, and it works so good. Well, I had one, and something happened to it. It got lost, broken. Something happened. It was a can opener from the 70s. So I went out to the store and I bought a new one. And within a couple of months, it broke. And so I went back to Walmart and I got one that was twice as expensive, the fancy can opener. And again, like maybe 6 months or something. And it broke. Like the spring, like the turning thing, the spring just... And I'm like, what the hell? And so I went on eBay and I found one of those exact same can openers that I had before from the 70s. And I bought it off eBay, and I've had that thing for 10 years again. I'm like, it's insane though that like we make things it's planned obsolescence. We make things to break. Humans make things to break after a certain amount of time so that people have to buy more, because if you make something that lasts forever, you just lost that customer as a repeat customer. Yeah. It's mind-blowing.
It's like after a certain amount of, the up literally starts slowing down, and you literally can't use your phone. You have to.
Yep. Yeah, and after a certain amount, it won't update your phone, because I have old ones that I've given to my kids to use for like apps and stuff. And eventually they won't be compatible with the apps. They won't, like, you can't update them again, and they become useless. And it's like all of the resources that go into these. And it's just, it's like heartbreaking. But then at the same time, it's like, okay, I'm an online coach. I have an online podcast. In order to bring my message, which I'm trying to inspire people to be better, right? That's my whole mission. In order to do that, I have to use these tools, and I have to have the good ones to do it. So it's like it's such a conundrum, because, well, I could go be a monk and sit in a cave and not talk to anybody and not use any resources. But then nobody is receiving these messages. So it's like, it's this give and take, and it's so difficult.
Yeah.
So difficult to navigate,
I think
though. Well,
sort of
that brings,
especially yeah, sorry, you go.
no, say no. That's a good point. Yeah, say that.
I was just
No,
going to say, moms, we're trying to instill so much these things into our kids to not be wasteful and do this, that, but then we are also so down on ourselves for not being perfect. But also, I don't want my kids to feel like they have to be perfect.
yeah. There's also a reverence. What you were saying, yeah, what you were saying reminded me of that too. There's also a reverence for the life. So when we at night, when we eat dinner, when we sit around the table, we say thank you. We do, some people call it blessing or grace or something like that, but we say thank you to all of the animals, people, plants, the earth. We recognize and appreciate what went into our meal. And I think that is highly lacking in Western culture, that reverence. And we do, like I talk to my kids about that. You know, this is a cow. They've grown up. We've raised pigs. We've raised goats. You know, we've raised chickens, ducks, turkeys. They've helped with slaughter and cleaning. They're very aware of where that food comes from. And I've had one of my daughters went through a bout of really morally being against eating animals, and you know, I was happy to explore that with her. And then ultimately, she went back the other way, but she had a crisis moment, I would say, with that, you know, same as I have. And, you know, we explored that together. And so I try to, you know, help my kids to be very aware and also very appreciative. And we say, like, if we have animals in that meal, we say thank you to the animal, not it's a steak. We say thank you to the cow who gave its life for this meal. Thank you to the farmers who raised the cow. Thank you to the farmers who grew the vegetables. Like, you know, we you know, thank you to the earth who, you know, provided us with all of this food. So it's important, I feel like, do the best you can, but also to give thanks, to be thankful, and to be in reverence for what you are consuming is so important. Whew, this has been kind of a heavy conversation. I think this is the most heavy podcast I've ever done. You know, it's like, oh, it's a lot. It is a lot. And I knew, because it weighs so heavy on me. It's such a heavy subject for me. So I knew there would be some heaviness in this, and it's fun to talk to you, Kerryn, and we do bring, you know, lightness in the conversation, but it does it's a lot. So I'd like to get to, I know we're at our hour, so I'd like to get to the last question. What most do you want humans to understand that they do not?
I don't think humans realize how special they are, how truly powerful you all are, and you all have such a deep amount of love to give. We see it every day in the small acts of kindness given to animals. It's why we love to be around you, to be loved by you, to be cared for by you, to be of service to you. As an animal, when we choose to be in contact with humans, this is when we have the biggest amount of growth on our soul journey. And it goes both ways. Every animal, tree, rock, plant, flower, every mountain, every bit of beauty found in nature. You only see such beauty because we are a mirror of the beauty and love in you. Every day, humans could choose to have the most fulfilled lives amongst nature, yet somehow you like to cut yourself off from it, all in your high buildings, hard roads, your life-sucking screens. But as animals, we see it. Constantly, we try to show you that life is here in the present, but we also understand the heaviness you carry, the grief and sadness, and often it's easier to hide it all under what you call technology, but we call it a big distraction from the truth of what you really are, and that is this. You are far more animal than you've ever considered. You belong here. The more you are, the more you grounded in your truth you will be. We love you and we are always guiding you, whether you realize or not. But maybe today, take a couple of minutes to sit outside and really notice us, all of us. We are here with you, not for you. So many of you are too much in your head and not enough in your heart. with feet on the earth. Everything is happening now for a reason. We are all part of the great plan. Humans need to forgive themselves for their past and do better for the future. Humans suffer such deep shame as animals barely understand it. You need to bring the shame to the light so it can be transformed.
Wow. Yep. That is sage advice. And it mirrored the heaviness that I was just speaking on, so that's interesting too. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of times I feel like if we just took on more of the childlike qualities that we're born with of yes, it can. And like I was saying, sometimes, and I know that most people are like this. It's not just me, but sometimes when I get into those spirals, it feels so hopeless and helpless. It's like, well, who am I? I'm just one person. What can I do? What can I really do that's going to make any real difference? But that's not that's not a helpful way to be. Like, that's if you are paralyzed in helplessness, then you can't make a difference, right? Like that is something to overcome. And I would love it if everybody that's listening at least takes that message away, right? That just those small little things. And I know you've said that like over and over. So it's just those small little things that we can do, the small acts of kindness, the small acts of conservation, using our voices. And while there might be like downsides to social media and technology, there is the upside of being able to get our voice out to so many people. And so you doing the brave thing to use your platform to be able to channel these messages for the animals is amazing. And yeah, I guess any last things that you want to say on this?
anything more to say, but I feel like everything that needed to be said has been said today. I think I just appreciate people taking time to listen. And so I really, really appreciate you having me on here, Nicole, especially, you know, it felt really scary, but it's just awesome to speak so openly with somebody really safe and chilled and not judge them, and being able to speak my truth on this because it feels really important. Not that everybody should go vegan. I just would love somebody to live a more compassionate life and to raise more compassionate humans.
Thank you. Thank you for being brave and coming on to have this conversation. And I hope I wasn't like, you know, too, I try to do devil's advocate, you know, and like push you a little bit. So I hope it didn't make you uncomfortable in any way. I really, awesome. I really, really appreciate this conversation. This has been, it's been a bit heavy. It's been very deep, and it's also been very enlightening and nourishing, and to bring the perspective of the animals, that unique perspective has been really beautiful. And I will link the ways to follow you and get in touch with you in the show notes, so that if anybody is listening and you know, they want to reach out to you about these things, they're able to get in touch, because the ability to channel these messages, I believe, is so important, and I really applaud you for having the bravery to do this. So thank you so much for coming on, and I cannot wait to have a part 4.
Part 4.
There's so, yeah, I know, I kept thinking that, like, who's speaking for the plants, like the poor plants, like the monoculture. I mean, we got to stop, or we're never gonna get off the call. But next time, let's speak for the poor plants, like Monsanto. And yeah, okay, all right, I love you.